Hey guys, I'm the Games Guy here, and welcome back to another quarantined movie review. It's been a while. It's been at least 4 months since the last one. And the last one wasn't even a review; it was more of a rant because I had genuinely nothing constructive or positive to say about that show at all. But we're not here to talk about The Cursed She-Hulk. We're here to talk about much better things. Today I am reviewing Pearl, a movie I've seen twice now. My first time was back on Halloween of last year, and the second time, well, at the time of recording this, just a few days ago. And that second viewing made me realize I really want to talk about this movie. So, we're here to review it, and thank you guys for all the new subs. My channel has been doing really well recently. My channel has been doing really well recently. I still can't talk. And I just want to thank you guys. I think I've gained 6 subscribers over the past 2 weeks. I just want to thank you guys for a lot. We're almost at 140. We're making our way to 200, baby. We're making our way to 200. We still got a lot more to go, but we're making our way there. So again, just wanted to shout out a quick thank you to you guys, and let's get on with the review. So, this movie is about Pearl. Pearl is a young girl living in 1918, I almost said 2018, but 1918, on a ranch in somewhere in Texas or whatever. They don't really make it specific, but yeah, she's living on this ranch, and she has a big dream. Her dream is to be a dancer, to be a dancer on Hollywood, or a dancer in the pictures, as she calls it. But, she's isolated on this farm. Her mother is very controlling. Her father is paralyzed with the Spanish flu. She has a husband, but he's away fighting in World War I. And so, needless to say, she is very isolated, and has not had a lot of opportunities to live out her dream, or to even start living out her dream. And so that causes her to, start to get very desperate, to the point where she will do anything and go through anyone to accomplish her dream, or to just escape her draining life on the farm. Now, this movie is actually a prequel to another movie called X, a movie that was released in the same year. The director actually filmed these movies back to back. X is sort of a provocative sort of horror movie, and it's sort of based off of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the original, that was released back in the 70s. And while I appreciate the style that they were going for, X didn't really strike me as a film that I would remember. It didn't really strike me as a film that I wanted to, really look into or would watch again or anything like that. There are some reasons to remember it. I'm not saying it's a completely boring, basic film, but to me personally, it didn't really feel like a film that pretty much I would recommend or remember that much or anything like that, outside a few aspects of it. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with the fact that I just really do not like slashers in general. The slasher genre to me has always been kind of dumb, or just, I wouldn't say dumb, I would just say not really that interesting to me. Mainly because it's mostly about the kills and not about the characters. You feel me? Most slasher films, a lot of them, 98% of them, don't really try to do it. I don't really find that most of them really do anything interesting or unique from the other. I feel like they're all just focused on kills, and none of them really focus on character. And I feel like a way to make a slasher film effective is that you would want, I don't really find much tension in slasher films, or at least not nearly as much tension as I think they want me to feel, because they don't really build up their characters like that. You don't really care who's getting killed, and I get it, that's not really the point. And I respect that, but it's just not for me.
Huh?
And that's why I didn't particularly care for X. But I really love Pearl.
I wanna be loved by you, just you, nobody else but you.
I want to first talk about the style. The style of this movie is freaking phenomenal. It is excellent. Now, there has been sort of an uprising lately of filmmakers sort of, going back to the past. Movies like The Lighthouse, for example, have, that movie is fully black and white. And heck, even uses some old, ancient filming techniques to really sell the authenticity of, like, okay, you're pretty much watching an old movie right now. Like, they tweaked the audio. I believe the filmmaker for that movie even filmed with like 60-year-old cameras or something like that, like something crazy. Like this is not the first time a movie has tried to sort of replicate the past, or at least past filmmaking techniques and styles and stuff like that, but I feel like this movie does something really interesting. For one, most of the time when filmmakers try to go for this vintage sort of look to a movie, they usually their first resort is to black and white, right? That's usually the first resort for the color palette, right? Because most movies were filmed in black and white, especially most old movies. But Pearl goes for the unique and interesting take of having the movie not be black and white, but actually the exact opposite. It more tries to aim for capturing the Technicolor era of filmmaking. Think of Wizard of Oz. Sort of the era where filmmakers were like, oh my gosh, we can actually put color in our movies. So the movie is it's oversaturated. It's super colorful. It's super oversaturated and stuff like that. Like every single color in the movie pops out. And that not only makes the movie very beautiful, but it also kind of fits into the theme of the movie. And the filmmaker uses, and that's the thing about the style that impressed me the most. The filmmaker actually uses the style to incorporate, to assist, that's the right word, to assist the story and the themes of the movie. But let me just keep talking about the style for now, and the style itself for now. I absolutely love how every single part of this movie screams that era. The editing, the transitions, the music. Also, this movie's score is freaking amazing. The character archetypes that are in this movie, the title crawls, like everything in this movie, the audio, everything about this movie, screams, Technicolor era, pretty much. And I really love the movie for taking that approach, because again, it really helps the film convey its message, and also makes the movie also just really, really, really good to look at. And that's not just because Mia Goth is on the screen. Ignore that comment. So yeah, the movie style is excellent. In fact, there's the way they use the style in this movie. He really knew how to use the style. Sometimes when filmmakers try to go for a vintage sort of look and feel to their movie, sometimes it's just there for show. Like I would say like quite often it's just there for show. For instance, there was a movie that came out recently called Blonde, and that movie, it did use a style like well, I would say, but in the end, it kind of feels like it didn't even need to really do it. It sort of feels like you could have just taken the style out of the movie and it wouldn't really change a lot. But I cannot say the same for Pearl. I could not imagine this movie without this Technicolor style. I couldn't imagine it. And that's good, because that shows that the director actually, knew what he was doing when he picked this specific era of vintage filmmaking to replicate. Now, that's all I have to say about the style for now, but I will be talking about it sporadically as this review continues, because it does factor into a lot of different aspects of the movie. But for now, let's talk about.
You'll get by if you smile. Through your fear and sorrow, smile, and maybe tomorrow.
The characters. Now, this isn't a long movie, so the characters don't really have like Breaking Bad level depth to their characters, but the movie still does a relatively good job of fleshing its characters out, even with this small runtime. And so let's just go through all of them real quickly. First, you have Ruth, Pearl's German mother. She is super overbearing, super isolating, and she pretty much wants Pearl to stay on the farm at all times. She makes Pearl do all these chores, makes her go into town to get the morphine, pretty much makes her. She almost uses Pearl's father, her husband, as sort of a guilt trip, as a way to keep her at the farm. She kind of does a lot of manipulative stuff like that in order to keep Pearl where she is. But there is an extra layer to it that makes it sort of interesting. I won't reveal it here, obviously, but the film does a good job. She has an incredible dinner scene, by the way. She has an incredible scene where they're all at a dinner table, and she kind of goes on like a monologue, which is fantastic. It's so good. But yeah, so that's Pearl's mother for the most part, or at least what I'm willing to share about her for right now. Next, you have the projectionist, who serves as a love interest for Pearl, but he also kind of symbolizes something else. He symbolizes kind of an escape for her. He sort of encourages Pearl to be free, because he hears that she wants to be a dancer and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, well, if you want to do that, sometimes you gotta take risks. Something that Pearl has been taught to not do for years, pretty much, or her whole life, we can assume, by her mother. So the projectionist kind of represents freedom for Pearl, which is sort of interesting. It's very interesting if you look at his character in that context, looking at it, the second time around. Looking at his character in that context and some things that happen kind of makes it be like, huh. But that's spoiler territory. Next, you have Mitzi. Mitzi serves as Pearl's pretty much best friend. She is she's her sister-in-law, and sort of serves as kind of like, at least I believe it's like an alternate version of Pearl. She has a very bubbly attitude, and Pearl has a very bubbly attitude too. However, Pearl has a deep sadness inside her that Mitzi does not seem to possess. Of course, Mitzi has her own insecurities, but Pearl's insecurities are far stronger than Mitzi's, and Mitzi seems to have the ability to kind of push past her issues, while Pearl does not. And then you have Pearl herself. She's a girl, who, as I described earlier, has huge aspirations and has huge dreams. But there's a lot in her way to getting to those dreams, exactly. And the interesting thing about her character, right? The interesting thing about her character is that she kind of gives me Monica vibes.
Oh no.
From ddlc, Doki Doki Literature Club, if you've ever heard of that game. Because she has a very brewing personality. She has a very approachable personality, again, she's very cutesy, very high energy, very bubbly. But within her, right, she is very sad, very depressed, and has a ever-increasing need for escape. she has an ever-increasing need to do something else in her life because she is very, very sad inside. I don't want to give too much away again. Hey, along with editing guy here. I forgot to mention how the style is a direct contrast to how Pearl feels on the inside. You know, the world is overly colorful, bubbly, and stuff like that. You know, it's very happy looking, which is a direct contrast to how Pearl feels on the inside and how she feels about the world and stuff like that. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. That's just another example of how the style supports the movie or conveys the movie's themes very effectively. Alright, back to regularly scheduled programming. Her character is very fascinating to me because her happiness kind of comes off as fake, or not even really fake, just a desperate attempt to be happy. That's kind of how I describe her character. A person who has a desperate need to be happy by any means necessary. That's how I would describe her character. And I believe that's all the characters that matter. No, not matter. I wouldn't use that word, but have the starring power, because the father doesn't really say a word throughout this entire movie, and some characters just do not show up often at all. But now these characters on paper, you know, wouldn't really be anything too special. But then you have the thing that elevates all characters. Acting. The acting in this movie is so good, and I know everyone who's seen this movie has given flowers to Mia Goth, as she should get. No, I didn't say I wanted to give her flowers. Hey, yo, chill, editors, please. Okay, that's enough. I do want to give credit to some of the other actors in the film because I feel like they're all phenomenal. Heck, I want to give credits to Matthew Sunderland, who plays Pearl's father. That man's expressions, his emotive acting is so good because he legit just sits down in a chair and doesn't say anything for the whole movie, yet you can feel every emotion this man radiates whenever stuff gets screwed up. He's like his expressions in this movie are freaking great. It's fantastic because you know exactly how he feels at all times. Ruth, Tandy Wright for Ruth is also incredible. Again, as I mentioned with the monologue, she nails it. She absolutely nails it. It's just so good. Emma Jenkins Perot as Mitzi, fantastic, super good as well. David Corin Sweat as a projectionist. Again, everyone just nails it. Everyone in this film, like, this isn't a huge cast by any means, but the people they did get for these roles are freaking incredible. And of course, you have Mia Goth, who is absolutely phenomenal. This is one of the best horror performances I've seen since Toni Collette for Hereditary. This is legit the best performance, like horror performance I've seen since Toni Collette in Hereditary. Mia Goth is so good in this movie, so unbelievably good. She has an 8-minute monologue in this, or 8-minute, 10-minute. I don't even know how long this was, but there's a monologue she does towards the end of the movie that is so. It has to be one of my favorite monologues like ever in the history of anything. I'm not even exaggerating. That sounds like hyperbole. That sounds like blind hype. I'm not exaggerating. I'm thinking with a clear head right now. Literally, the monologue was freaking fantastic, and it was almost all in one shot. And she just nails it, man. Like, she just nails it. Like, all the performances in this movie are just incredible, man. And you know, but there is also a reason why Mia Goth is getting so many flowers, because this role is not by any means an easy role to play. Some of the things she has to do in this film, I can only imagine, were very taxing. Very, very taxing. I'm thinking about two specific things in particular. I'm not gonna say them. But yeah, man, just across the board, excellent acting, excellent cast. And I just want to reiterate that I really appreciate the movie for actually giving some depth to its characters before it starts axing them off one by one. You know, like, everyone in this movie, you know, I mean, Pearl obviously has the most depth because she's the main character and the main focus of the movie. But really, all the side characters in this, also have, you know, a decent amount of depth. No one is really like one note in this movie. No one is really like, okay, basic one-dimensional character. Like, there's kind of, you can kind of tell there's a story for every single character in this movie that just hasn't been told yet, and I really appreciate that. I just feel like that isn't done enough in horror in general, not just slasher films. In horror, there is not really a big emphasis on character, or at least it's not as big as, you know, the emphasis on scares and stuff like that. The emphasis is usually on scares and tension and stuff like that, which it absolutely should be, don't get me wrong, but I also feel like character is also an underrated part of horror that is not utilized enough. Again, one of the reasons I love ddlc, Doki Doki Literature Club, is because that game spends an aggressive amount of time building up its characters. It spends a long time building up its characters. You don't get to the horror part for a long time, yet the horror parts are so much more effective because you actually care about who it's happening to. And I feel like this movie understands that aspect. Now, obviously, the movie's only like an hour and 40 minutes long, so it doesn't really have the same amount of time that ddlc had, obviously, or heck, it doesn't have a lot of time in general to build up its characters like a whole ton, but it still makes a decent attempt to give all of its characters some level of depth, and I really appreciate that. I don't have a lot of criticisms with this movie. I honestly don't. I guess I feel like it could have been a little longer, in my opinion. And that's not saying the movie's pacing is bad by any means. It's actually great, but I feel like there should have been a few more scenes before stuff like really hit the fan. I feel like there should have been a few more scenes with Mitzi, because she shows up very sparingly throughout the film, very sparingly. But you know, not to say that her character, you know, lacks depth because of that, but I feel like they could have done a slightly better job. I feel like a few more scenes would have added more opportunity to establish a sort of like this sort of relationship between these characters further, and I feel like what eventually would happen to Mitzi would have hit harder. Overall, this is a really good horror movie. I mean, it's not really scary. I kind of hesitate calling this a horror movie because it's not really scary at all. It's more uncomfortable, which, in my opinion, could actually work better. You know, if a movie is uncomfortable instead of scary. But this is a really solid film. I really love the aesthetic. I really love the style. I feel like the director T.I. West did a really good job, and also Mia Goth also she also helped write the script for this movie. So yeah, if she helped with a lot of it, then yeah, she's a pretty good freaking writer too. Editor, stop it. Yeah, guys, I highly recommend this film. Style is excellent. Acting is fantastic. The pacing is really good. And yeah, guys, I highly recommend this film. Please check it out if you ever have the chance. I wish I could have gone deeper into the themes of this movie. I might do a deep dive into this movie if enough of you are interested. But the reason I didn't do it in this video is because, truthfully, there's a few people I know that are gonna watch this video or might watch this video, and I really want to show them the movie, and I don't want them to go into the movie already knowing everything that's going to happen. So that's why I didn't do a deep dive, truthfully. But I seriously highly recommend for you guys to check out the film. And yeah, guys, as for a grade, I'm giving Pearl an A. The first time I saw it, I gave it like an A-, but the second time I saw it, I realized I saw a lot more of what was going on and what the director was conveying in the themes of the movie, and I really found it all kind of engaging. So I'm giving the movie an A, guys. Highly recommend. And yeah, guys, more quarantine movie reviews are on the upcoming. I'm hoping that I can get one for Creed 3 out. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm hoping to see it. Ant-Man Quantumania may come a little bit later. I don't know if we're going to. I don't know if I'm going to see that one in theaters, y'all. I've been kind of hearing some mixed things about it, but you know, I have to go formulate my own opinion. And once season 3 of The Mandalorian is over, I will have a review out for that too. So that's 3 quarantine movie reviews I have to get past. Heck, I might just do what I did a few months ago and just do like freaking, I don't know, just a crap ton of content and just throw it all in one video and be like, yeah, I'm gonna give mini reviews for all these things. I might just do that. That sort of saved me a lot of time. But yeah, guys, that's all for now. Long live Games Guy out. Have a good day.